If you're concerned about where we're up to with the pandemic at present, well, I understand. All of us are. If you're particularly concerned about lockdown and its effects on you, your business, your families, and frankly, your well-being, I can understand that as well. We're going through a rough time at the moment, particularly the good people of New South Wales and Victoria. But in the midst of all this, what has really got right up my nose is this latest attempt at what I describe as Morrison's oh-so-clever agenda shift. It's about taking the spotlight off himself and throwing that spotlight onto the states and pretending all the problems that we have now and into the future will be because of the state premiers. So how's he trying to do that? Well, Morrison knows that he's in an enormous amount of political trouble because of what he's done and failed to do on the pandemic. He's failed on quarantine, a federal responsibility. He's failed on vaccine, a federal responsibility. And he's also compounded the problems of the states like New South Wales on lockdown because he put pressure onto Berejiklian not to lock down early when she really should have. And as a result, Delta's spread right across New South Wales, into Victoria, across to New Zealand, and threatening other states as well. Of course, Morrison has been supported throughout this by the Murdoch media empire. Murdoch has tried to blame the states for quarantine, even though it's a federal responsibility. On vaccine, the Murdoch media have been disgraceful at the material that they've put into the media, particularly through Sky Television, encouraging vaccine hesitancy. In fact, they were recently banned on YouTube for a period of time because of the irresponsible material that they'd put up there. And of course, on Berejiklian's New South Wales, they put enormous pressure to bear on her not to lock down early. And the consequences are, as I described before. So these are the reasons why we've got into the mess that we're in at the moment. But Morrison, rather than stepping up to the plate and coming up with real solutions on quarantine, on vaccine, and therefore on how to deal with lockdown, has come up with instead a political strategism, which is along these lines. What he's saying is, I'm going to ensure, he says, that the whole country is vaccinated by the end of the year to 80% levels for everyone above the age of 16. And therefore, under those circumstances, we're going to make sure that the states open all of their borders and all lockdowns are finished. Well, you know, on the surface of it, that's a fine proposal. It's based on the Doherty report in part. But Doherty assumes, you know, that the basis for that opening everything up is not more than having 30 or 40 infected people coming into the community each day. Whereas now we've got literally thousands in New South Wales. And so what has happened instead is that when various premiers put up their hand and said, well, yeah, we support the principle of 80% vaccination and then opening the country up and opening our states up, but we want to see the detail at that time. These may well be fair and reasonable questions, but the political strategism which Morrison has locked on is this: if anyone stands against me, Morrison, in throwing the borders and ending lockdown at that 80% point, then those premiers will be to blame for your continued lockdown. That's the nature of the strategy he's currently implementing. In fact, it'd be useful if Morrison were to answer this question on the 80% definition. Does he mean an 80% average right across the nation? Well, what use is that if you've got, you know, 20% vaccination rates in certain localities within cities or towns? Or does he mean 80% in each local government area across Australia? That would make more sense. We don't have an answer on that. But all I'd say in the meantime is be very, very careful. Keep your eyes peeled for this flipping the switch to the new oh-so-clever giant diversion strategy, this giant agenda shift, which Morrison's got underway at the moment, backed by Murdoch. In other words, I, Morrison, am not responsible for any of this mess. It's those premiers over there who are responsible. I, Morrison, am going to be the architect of your freedom to get you out of lockdown. Those premiers over there are the ones that are going to stop you from getting out of lockdown. well, pigs might fly. Scotty, the bottom line is the Australian public know that you've stuffed up on quarantine, stuffed up on vaccine, which is why we've ended up in lockdown. I don't think the Australian people are going to let you get away with it.